This would be an ecumenical matter.
Hello and welcome to Ecumenical Matters, the Father Ted podcast. We're up to episode 17, season 3, episode 2. Are you regular, Father Ted? No, wait, I'm not. I'm on the next episode after that, I think.
It is series 3, episode 2, James.
But it's not.
It's not. You're right there, Father Ted.
It's Chirpy, Burpy, Cheap Sheep. Thank you very much. That was the voice of Michael Keane, a member of the London Comedy Writers, who is our exclusive guest today. Second roadshow episode. So I'm here at the Edinburgh Festival. We're in the lovely St Andrews Park. Or is it St Andrews Park?
I think there's a sign saying St Andrews Square Gardens, which I think is just ripping off the place in New York. But I think it's normally just St Andrews Square. It's been taken over by the Stand Comedy Club.
Ah, fantastic. Well, yes, there's a very hustle-bustle atmosphere going on. You might hear it all around us here. And yeah, we've got the Ursula Burns will be playing music in about 20 minutes, so we'll see if we can hear that outside us. But a bit of housekeeping before we get started. And actually, sorry, yes, did you want to plug anything? What you're doing?
Yeah, sure. I'm in Battle Acts improvised comedy every night at 10:15. Don't believe the flyers, but we are also on Mondays, so don't believe the posters either. It's at Espionage on either Cowgate or Victoria Street, whether you want to go up some stairs or down some stairs when you enter the venue, at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival until the end of the festival, provided we last that long.
Brilliant. Well, I'm sure you will. The broadcast might not be put out until after the festival is over, but I will put a plug in.
If the broadcast doesn't go out until after the festival, then I've got to tell everyone the show is amazing. Absolutely incredible. Oh,
I heard great things about it. They're raving about it down in London and in New York and LA and Paris and everything. But yeah, brilliant. So a bit of housekeeping for myself. On the 16th September, we're taking the podcast to the Culture Night Belfast. There'll be a live showing broadcast.
Well, I suppose if you turn up at Culture Night Belfast, then you'll be able to watch, will you?
Yes, you will.
Then that's a live showing.
It's a live showing, yeah. So it's a free entry, which is, Price is Right, in the Fender Gallery, which is in the North Street in Belfast. And then the 3rd of October, there's a live sketch show, which I'm involved with the Belfast Comedy Writers. So your London Comedy Writers, this is Belfast Comedy Writers. And it's an Alt na Kraken live sketch show. So it'll be the debut of our new sketch show, Alt na Kraken, in the Duke of York pub. Featuring sketches from Johnny and Johnny, who were on the podcast last week. So yeah, that's just the housekeeping and everything up to date. So yeah, you feeling well? You enjoying the festival so far?
Oh yeah, it's brilliant. It's exhausting. Today's Wednesday. I had my day off on Monday. I'm still absolutely knackered. But yeah, it's fantastic. I got in about 2:30 last night after seeing a cabaret show at 1 a.m. It's just that kind of thing, and it's ongoing all day.
Yeah, the shows actually start really late in Edinburgh, which I didn't realise until I first came here. Like you think an 11 o'clock show's late, but it's not. Like the ones won't start until maybe 1 or half 1.
Yeah, well, and then there are literally breakfast shows where you can go and have breakfast and watch something. I did like it in the programme, which is the sort of big book they published. I've seen Back with Breakfast for your classical music fans.
Johann or Sebastian? Sebastian is in the Twisted Sister singer.
Oh, I see. No, I think it's Johann Sebastian. I presume, anyway. I haven't been down to it because I'm usually asleep at that time. But my girlfriend was playing at this cabaret gig last night at 1 a.m. and then she got up to go and do a kids show, which started at 11:30 a.m.
That's dedication.
Yeah, or daft.
Or yeah, well, one of the D's anyway.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get into it anyway. This episode is Chirpy, Burpy, Cheap Sheep, and for once the episode title is actually quite descriptive of what's happening in the episode, because we have a cheap sheep. It was £50.
£23.
£23, sorry, yeah. Gosh.
Check my notes, but I'm pretty sure he only cost £23. But there is an extra clause that will come to if his image is ever used on stamps.
Well, that's true. So we'll keep out for that. We'll keep a look out for that. And he became he wasn't very chirpy, but he was burpy. And of course,
extremely burpy.
It was a play on the Chupa Chupa Cheep Cheep. What's that song called?
I don't know, but it sounded lovely. Do it again.
Chupa Chupa Cheep Cheep. It is. It's like a Cher song or something, isn't it?
It could well be. I'm terrible on Cher songs, to be honest.
You need to bone up on that, Michael. Come on.
All right. For the next time.
For the next one, yeah. And it features Peter Dineen as the giant reed. Now, I knew Peter Dineen from my play Sitting Up for Michael, my magnum opus in its London showing, which you were at, Michael. Do you remember he was there?
I do, yeah. I know. I remember him. I met him afterwards. Lovely fellow. He said you were a delight to work with.
Well, he's a liar. I was about to say he's a lovely fellow, but clearly he's talking out of his heart. No, he's an absolute saint. Like it was a very stressful production, as all productions seem to be, but he was able to keep a tab on things, and he managed to get me actors as well at the last minute. So fantastic. And then we had it was the whole premise of the show was the King of the Sheep '98.
King of the Sheep '98. One of my favourite things actually about the fact that it was '98 was they referenced the fact in the episode that it's a leap year, and I thought that was some well thought out, clever continuity. I mean, it was also, I think, first broadcast in '98, so it was accurate.
Well, I was going to bring that up later on, but it was '98 actually. I thought '98 wasn't the leap year.
Was it not?
I think '96 was the leap year.
Oh, well, in that case, you're absolutely right, yeah.
You have to be divisible by 4, don't you?
Yeah. Just bad maths.
Olympic years, yeah.
I apologise, listeners.
No,
bad maths.
You don't have to apologise. Graham and Arthur have to apologise. I'm kind of shoddy right now.
Yeah, but at the same time, maybe they can just hide behind their subversive absurdism.
Well, this is true, yeah. It's a leap year in Craggy Island.
Could be, yeah.
So it starts off, so it's a very great idea for an episode. A sort of sheep beauty contest, or sheep...
In terms of starting off, it's quite exciting. It's one of the episodes, I would imagine quite few. I haven't gone through the start of each episode categorically, but it starts with 4 characters that we've never seen before.
This is true,
so
yeah.
You've got Fargo Boyle, Giant Reed, Hud Hastings, and of course Chris, the champ sheep.
Star of the show.
Star of the show every year, and they're just chatting about it. Like, if you're watching it, now it could only be Father Ted, because there's a kind of a circus tent with a sheep in it. But I do think it's quite a bold, exciting choice. And then Ted comes in and has a chat with Fargo about Chris's chances and how he's put the entire winter heating budget on him winning.
Well, this is it, yeah, because we had a guest on the podcast before, Sean. He thinks that Ted might have a bit of a gambling problem. And this would sort of back that up. If not a problem, then at least, a dangerous affliction.
He keeps losing, doesn't he? And that would be my definition of a gambling problem.
Problem, yeah.
Not backing winners.
Well, this is true, yes, this is true. So he put the entire heating allowance, which would have been quite a big bet, like.
And probably a huge bet, especially on somewhere like Craggy Island.
Yeah.
They've already had a tree crash through the ceiling at this stage, right?
Yes, when the rain was coming in.
Yes.
They had fundraisers for that, and yeah.
and it all went awry. So, so the stakes could not be higher, folks. That's what we learn in scene 1.
Yeah. So straight in, and turns out that the local betting man, the local Mo Sislak, is John from John and Mary's, and he reminded me. At first, it struck me as odd that he would have the line on the gambling, but then I remembered of a little shop in Fintna, which was just a wee grocery shop, sort of like John and Mary's, and down the side they had an SP, starting price betting, and it sort of explained why everyone in the town called the man Pat the Spa. For years I couldn't figure out why he was called Pat the Spa, because he didn't seem to have any particular, visible affliction.
That's fantastic.
But yeah, that was what it was.
How rude.
But yes, well, this was an older time.
To be fair, it doesn't actually specifically state that the bookies, or the book, I guess, that John is running is actually licensed or legal.
That's what I was thinking as well, yeah.
And it's especially because of course, domestic abuse abounds at the top of John and Mary's scene, but Mary gets locked in the cupboard, and then Ted comes in and they exchange the usual pleasantries, and then he says to John, "Can I have a word with you a moment?" And they move away from the cupboard. So maybe Mary doesn't even know that John's running the book, and he's doing it on the sly, unlicensed, a bit like Mo the bartender. Or me at my cousin's wedding 2 years ago.
Oh, you were running rackets, were you?
It was
the wedding. Who dropped first glass or something?
No, the wedding was actually a gambling spree. Standard at weddings, isn't it? Or certainly a few I've been to in terms of betting on the length of a speech. My cousin got married on Grand National Day.
Oh, okay, that'll do it. Yeah.
And we were miles away from a bookies and with no real data coverage. So I decided that I'd be the bookie for the day. And of course, it was Grand National. Nobody backed the winner. So
you made out like a bandit?
absolutely.
Oh, fantastic. I was about to say, is it not really stressful and confusing trying to keep up with betting patterns and stuff and odds and like where are we getting the odds from?
I'd brought the paper with me in case I got bored after lunch, and I took the odds from the paper. I halved them because a captive market.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to pay out too much. I halved them in my favour. So anything that was on at 20 to 1, I put down as 10 to 1. That's what I offered, and people go, "That's no odds at all." And I was like, "Well, okay. You see someone else taking bets around here? It's all gone." And of course, it was a field of so many horses. No one backed the winner. And then another cousin-in-law, my cousin's husband, said, "Well, now you have to buy everyone a drink." And I went, "No, Chris, that's not how it works. I have your money now.
And I'm keeping it.
Yeah.
Did you make a nice betting on?
I was not bad. I mean, I was up on the day,
North of €300?
No, not quite.
So, no, it's not too bad then.
I was all right.
You weren't fleecing them too hard.
No.
Fantastic. Well, as you said, there's the three cronies, as I'm going to call them. Fargo Boyle and his three cronies, Giant Reed and what was his name?
Hud Hastings.
Hud Hastings. Yeah, I misheard that. I couldn't figure out what he was saying. But they decided to start describing a beast in front of our hero, Chris the Sheep, and they started as big as a jaguar. What, the car?
What, the car? Yeah.
See, as an improv artist, you should have known that his initial response should have been yes, even bigger. But he said no, it's only as big as a cat. He should have said the car, because that's even more scary for a sheep.
Yeah, I suppose it is. I don't know how big a jaguar cat actually is.
Well, for a visual reference for the podcast listeners, I would imagine it's about the size of that fence we're sitting beside, or that shed we're sitting beside.
Okay, grand. Well, that's a decent. I wouldn't like to be assaulted by a beast of that magnitude. But it's
their speed, you see. Their speed is more the frightening thing.
Oh, I see.
Because
Are they quite stealthy as well? They sort of slink along.
Yeah.
They do that shoulder number.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah. But do they like whenever you hear about an escaped cat or something? They go, it's like one that's been spotted, not one that's known to have escaped. I remember I was in France a couple of years ago, and there was supposed to be some kind of escaped cat near Disneyland, and a similar thing happened down on the moors in, I think, Devon, and like this cat was killed recently, and it had escaped in the 80s, and from God knows where. But they say it's a large feline type creature, about the size of a jaguar, and it looks like a jaguar, and you're just like, it's probably a jaguar.
Probably a jaguar, what do you reckon?
But it seems to be the sort of go-to standard wild animal that is inexplicably roaming around. No one goes, well, there's a lion out there, because everyone goes, well, that's ridiculous.
Well, that's just stupid. As if a lion's going to wander around.
Yeah, people take note.
There was actually an escaped beast of Fintna.
Was there?
Yeah, it was on UTV News and everything for a while, but I think it turned out just to be. Well, there was some eccentric pet collector.
Oh right.
Who, I think he just lost control of one of his animals. But it's a real problem apparently that, especially in America, people buy these really exotic pets.
Oh yeah, and then they can't keep them.
Well, they realise shit. This massive snake is going to take over my whole living room and just
eat me out of house.
Yeah. Quite literally. Yeah.
Where's the youngest child kind of thing? It's funny. A friend of mine yesterday was up from London to see his wife in a play, and he showed me a video on his phone of so they've just bought this house, and the fireplace was blocked up, but they came down one morning and heard something scratching around behind it, so they took away the sort of thing that was boarding it up, which I think was a sort of sheet of metal or iron or something. Right. And this bright green parakeet dropped out, and so they phoned the RSPB, the bird people, and they went, "Oh yeah, where do you live?" Dulwich. Or no, it's Lewisham. Anyway, southeast London. And they went, "Oh yeah, there's loads of them around there. They escaped from some zoo or menagerie in the 70s, and they've been a complete menace to the local bird population. So you're down there in this fairly innocuous piece of South London / Kent, and you've got tropical parrots
Yeah,
in
no,
Reesting,
I used to live in Lewisham.
falling down people's chimneys.
I didn't realise they had a falling down chimneys thing, but there's a Manor House Gardens like in Heather Green where I was living,
Yeah.
and all the birds in the trees are all like green, like tropical parrots.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, somebody did tell me that basically started breeding, and now they're sort of
Everywhere.
habitating there. Is habitating? Inhabiting, that's the word. So I bet you I've probably seen the particular one that was down your friend's chimney at one point.
Probably, yeah.
But yeah, so
God, could we go off on any more tangents?
the more the better, merrier.
Okay, why not? Yeah, it's all filler.
Exactly.
And then the two lads, they just go on to say, after the big cat thing, which doesn't really need the word thing, and then they have this great little no man's sheep is safe.
Yeah.
Really sinister. And then they just have an ooh off where each of them says ooh.
It's funny though because there was another sheep standing right beside Chris, which, given that both those people were also entering sheep,
Yeah.
how did it not affect that sheep?
Well, as Fargo says later on in the episode, Chris has always had a very artistic temperament.
Yes, he has, and I want to bring that up actually.
Yeah.
Artistic temperaments. We are at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival.
Indeed.
And there's about 9 festivals happening at the same time in Edinburgh.
There's loads, yeah. There's the International Festival, the Literature Festival. It's not a word. Book Festival.
Book Festival, Military Tattoo, the Edinburgh International Television Festival, blah blah blah.
Oh yeah.
So there'll be a lot of artistic temperament around here. But one of the ones that I came up with, that I remembered, that probably the worst example, Pavel Dmitrichenko from the Bolshoi Ballet, who threw acid in his director's face about 3 or 4 years ago. Did you hear about that?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, it was fucking mental.
That is crazy stuff.
And apparently the reason was because the director didn't give Pavel's wife a part in the ballet.
Fair enough then, actually.
Yeah, well, I mean, you got to stick by your own and stuff. But I was going to think, is there any examples you can think of just people you've worked with? You don't have to name names, or you may do if you wish.
Mad artistic temperament. Artistic temperaments, I suppose, can be a good thing. There aren't any great examples. I know some of the great stories. People talk about artistic temperament, but there's so much stuff that just goes on in an artistic environment that wouldn't happen in a sort of ordinary, inverted commas, workplace. There's this great story about the Stones, the Rolling Stones.
Right.
Charlie Watts, the drummer, is he's always very well turned out. He's a really sharp dresser, and he's a
teetotaler and stuff, isn't he?
He's a teetotaler as well. Yeah. So he goes to bed early and stuff. Anyway, they were in one hotel somewhere, and at about 3 o'clock in the morning, Jagger's down in the bar. Don't know if he's sober or not. But anyway, apparently he phones up Charlie Watts' room, and Charlie Watts woken up, answers the phone and goes, "Hello?" And Jagger, on the phone in the bar, goes, "Where's my fucking drummer?" Right, so Watts hangs up, gets out of bed, has a shower, shaves, puts on a brand new 3-piece suit and a pair of newly polished brogues, goes downstairs in the lift, walks into the bar where Jagger's sat up next to the bar on a high stool, punches him full force in the face and goes, "I'm not your fucking drummer, you're my fucking singer." Turns around and goes back to bed.
Oh, so you got showered and everything just to
do that,
and then go back in.
Yeah. Now it could be an urban legend, but it's one of my favourite stories of artists.
I do think I've heard that one before, actually.
Yeah.
But artists, yeah. Pretty mental. But you say that stuff like that doesn't happen in ordinary workplaces.
That's not true.
I say it does, but it's just they're much more tight-lipped in corporate environment.
That could be true, actually.
And the fact that it probably doesn't happen as much, but the fact that people sort of stifle their own instincts in corporate environments as well, which didn't necessarily help.
Yeah, and I think also probably for the sake of a company's reputation and so on, sometimes it gets covered up. I mean, we've learned in recent years an awful lot about some very creative fund managers and accountants and stockbrokers and so on, It is lovely to be recording this in the shadow of the headquarters of the Royal Bank of Scotland.
Is that,
That's completely
behind you?
unrelated point.
But we cut back to Ted, and I did want to bring up that he was reading a newspaper with the headline, Dublin should get role in North Security, which I did want to find stuff that sort of dated the show.
Oh yeah.
And I couldn't read the actual copy of the paper. It was the actual Irish Indo, like, so it was a proper headline. But I'm not sure entirely what it was referring to, or even what it was referring to.
When was the Good Friday Agreement?
It would have been after this. It would have been after the end of the series. They would have signed it.
But it would have, but at the same time, I mean, I don't know, but a lot of that stuff started with John Major, who stood down in '97.
May '97, yeah. So,
which is probably the year they were shooting this.
Probably, yeah, because they would have been shooting. They would have been shooting about so late '97, early '98, and then release in March '98.
Anyway, what did you find? Because I was reading something else in the same scene. In a second.
I just wanted to bring it up that I couldn't find what. Dublin doesn't really have any role in Northern Security at the minute that I'm aware of. Apart from I think they share databases now.
They share intelligence.
Yeah.
The guards and what is now the PSNI, but would have been the RUC then.
Yeah.
But that maybe that was it.
Well, possibly. I mean,
I would just assume, and maybe that's lazy of me, that it's far too ordinary a headline to have been invented. If they're going to print their own newspaper and invent something, you'd expect, and especially something that's going to be in big letters and legible, it would have been more interesting than that.
Oh no, I do. Like I said, I do think it was a genuine newspaper front page, like it was the Indo, the Irish Indo.
Yeah.
But as I said, they were sharing intelligence. But there was stories of like Tom Slab Murphy was his name. I might have to bleep that, but he was a known smuggler, and he had his property would go on both sides of the border. So when the guards were investigating, all they do is just take everything up the northern side of the border, and they couldn't touch him. And then when the RUC came, he would just move everything to the other side of the border, and the RUC couldn't touch them. It never occurred to them just both come
at the same time. Yeah. Coordinate, guys.
Exactly. What was you were looking at?
Well, I was looking at what I think is next on your notes there, which is the album that Dougal is listening to, BBC Radio Sound Effects, Volume 4, and the track listing on it.
I didn't pick that up. So
the track listing goes birds singing, pots and pans clanging, which are the first two sound effects that Dougal listens to.
Yeah.
Then there's machine guns, is what's listed on the LP cover. But it sounds more like just shotgun fire that covers Ted's coffin.
Yes.
It's more of a bang, bang, bang rather than a rat-a-tat-a-tat-a-tat. But anyway, that's a small thing, okay?
Well, that's the whole podcast, is trying to find this tiniest little holes to bring that show down. That's a tiny, tiny hole. The next one is steam engine, which does get used. But then there's a flush that Dougal plays. I think once Mrs Doyle comes in, she's kind of depressed. But there's no flush on the track listing. Ah.
So the next two, so basically the A side is the birds, the pots and pans, the guns, machine or otherwise, and a steam engine. They all get used, right? Then there's this mystery flush. Then the B side is explosion, type 2 I think it is, a car revving, we don't hear either of them, and then there's the flying saucer, which we do hear when Mrs Doyle's talking about the beast, and it's sort of a
yes.
And then there's the dramatic thunder.
Yes, it's just keeping her up at night.
Yes, she hadn't had a week of sleep worrying about the beast. And Ted said, "What's this now?" And you kind of think, that's interesting, because Ted's usually the one who's clued in, partly because he takes confession, I suppose. But,
yes, well, yeah, it's great gossip material in those confessionals. As we learned during the series.
but he was there in the previous scene when the beast was being discussed in front of Chris. Dougal seems to know all about it, but I think that probably just adds to the fanciful notion of the beast.
Well, I think, Ted sort of dismissed it every time he heard it.
Yeah.
Oh, as the Edinburgh
traffic.
Yeah, bearing down the road. It's not as bad as the sirens go past my window when I'm recording the episodes, though. So
All right.
at least it's something new. But the Dougal's the record though itself, it's a new avant-garde twist for Dougal's record collection.
Oh yeah, and he thinks people give up listening to pop music and listen to this sort of thing instead.
Well, there was a point in the 80s where you could have said that. There was some very avant-garde sort of
Yeah, oh absolutely.
sample-heavy music.
There still is some pretty out there stuff out there.
Well, do you know Pitchfork website?
Yeah.
It's like the the Bible of really avant-garde indie, and every year they produce like top 100 lists, and you start listening to some of it, and it's like, okay, that was a cool sample for 30 seconds, but no, not for a fucking 5-minute song, which it seems to be the entirety of the song. Like
maybe that's the point of it though, and it's maybe it's just supposed to come around again.
Yeah.
like the ooze in the first scene that go on for way too long in this episode between Giant Reed and what's his name? Hud Hastings, yeah. So anyway, yeah.
Well, I just wanted to bring up, so his record collection has grown since his Eurosong when he just had one record.
Yeah.
And then he got obviously all the Niamh Connolly records when Ted had a panic buy
Loved them
to get the house back. Haven't heard much more from those, to be fair, but
well, I think that's the only reason he got them was to get the house back.
And he got them all signed, like that's a full collection. Like there must be just for the sheer exhaustive fact of the collection.
You wonder if a good Catholic priest would have maybe burned them straight away, but in entrepreneurial fashion, Ted may have found a way to sell those on to adoring fans.
Well, he could have given them to the Spin Master.
He could have given them to the Spin Master.
And he could have one more record to play instead of just Ghost Town.
Just the one, yeah.
Father Jack is at one with nature during leap years, but there's a montage of him, and it reminded me of Frankenstein, the 1938 film, with a little girl by a lake.
I'm not so familiar with that version of the film. I like the De Niro one.
Yes, that is a good one. When you see the image of Frankenstein, it's 2 bolts in his neck.
Yeah. Is that the 38 version?
Yeah.
Oh, I see, okay.
And the famous scene is that he's finally sort of coming out of, or he's gained consciousness now, and he's sort of got himself on an even keel. He's been along with this little girl, and she's just handing out Daisy, and he loves the fact that she can even pull a petals with Daisy, and he says, "Oh, what happens if I pull the hair off this little child?" and throws her in the leg, and that's what sends the mob after him.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so that's what that reminded me of. Now I don't know if that was intentional.
I'd give them the benefit of the doubt and say it was.
Well, yeah, they do have a real horror film history in the show,
and I think that this is it's partly a whodunit, and it's very much a kind of Sherlock Holmes thing because Ted does all the deduction, and you can see that, and it's all worked out at the end. And obviously, there's the whole Hound of the Baskervilles versus Beast kind of thing as well. But that's I think one of the reasons that's one of the most popular Sherlock Holmes books is that it has that horror element to it.
Yeah, definitely.
Of the mystery rather than supervillain, and I mean, not that aren't all great, but yeah, I think they really tapped into that and enjoyed the horror element.
And I was really looking forward to that adaptation in the Benedict Cumberbatch version, and they absolutely skewered it. They did everything wrong. There was no point of the book was present in the TV show version of that story. Do you remember? Do you?
I know I do. Yeah, and there was a medical lab and all of that.
Yeah, and it was the Hound of Baskervilles was like this, gassy sort of illusion they were coming up with, and it was like they didn't even get the name right. It's the Hounds of the Baskervilles, and they called the Hound of Baskervilles.
Yeah, but
Jeez,
isn't that what they're doing with Sherlock?
Yeah. See, I want to really love that adaptation. I really do, but they just keep fucking it up every time.
Just that episode or the whole thing?
The whole thing. Like, there's always just one point
just
part of it.
James. Move on. I
have.
Because
I stopped watching it.
Get over it.
I did. Father Jack's tranquility is ruined when he throws up and uses the puppy as to wipe his mouth with.
Yeah, but it's always going to be the way. It's quite clever though, because obviously this is Series 3. You need to come up with new things, and just Jack being disgusting of itself is not, it's not new. So actually what's funny is him being all peaceful and serene and being very zen and loving all things natural and pure. That's funny because it changes what you know about him, and then it also gives you the chance to switch back.
Switch back in the most egregious way possible.
Yeah.
A poor puppy, like.
So clever.
What would the acidic content of, Jack's saliva be at that point?
Oh, God knows.
But yeah, so Ted goes over to Fargo Boyle, who's phoned him in a panic. Fargo's like, well, he's got this artistic temperament. He's really upset with his beast business. And he shows him 2 pictures. One from last year is a winning sheep.
Yeah.
And then again, it's like 2 completely different sheep.
Yes. Now, obviously, it's the same picture that's just been flipped, as you can tell from the rocks in the background. Interestingly, I think the one from this year where he looks quite depressed, Chris is looking to the right. And last year when he won and was really happy, he's looking to the left. I think there may be a continuity issue that occurs later in the episode, but maybe the next time the photos come up, we'll talk about that.
No, go on ahead, because I hadn't noted that down.
Well,
so
I think that later on, Ted's showing the same photos to Dougal, and he gets them the other way around. Now, obviously it's the same joke, and the joke is actually that the sheep looks exactly the same. But I wondered if it was deliberate that they changed it, or not.
I don't know, probably not.
But, because is the joke that Ted can't actually tell which is the happy sheep and which one isn't. Although I would say not, because they seem to be able to just tell from the sheep, who always looks the same.
Yeah.
Because it's a sheep.
Well, exactly, yeah.
By the way, did you see who played the sheep on the credits?
I'd seen it. Denise or something. It was Phyllis or something.
Fatima, I think.
Fatima, that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, Fatima. So not even a ram.
Not even a male sheep. Yeah. Well, it might have been Chris for Christina.
That's true.
They
do say he a lot.
Yeah, you need to get their gender roles.
Yeah.
There's a nice little Casio sampling of the Father Ted theme tune.
Oh yeah.
With the baz.
Yeah, very nice.
So somebody did their work there and got the MIDI in.
Do you get the impression that it was a bit more? I mean, it probably was a bit more high budget than but they.
It's got a homemade ethic, or
that's exactly it.
And which I'm obviously trying to replicate in the podcast with my shoestring budget podcasting.
And we're also using all of the BBC sound effects archive.
Yeah, just having it all around us. I hope this really comes up in the mic.
But
3D sound and everything.
All the roadworks and the tram stop nearby.
Now we need a crack of thunder just to really complete the...
No thanks, I'm enjoying the heat wave.
Dougal then decides he's heard about the beast and he's telling Ted what he thinks of it. He's got retractable legs to jump higher.
Yeah, he's got 4 ears, 2 for hearing and 2 of them are just backup ears. For some reason he has a tremendous fear of stamps. He's got a magnetic tail, so as if you're made out of metal, he can attach himself to you. He's as big as 4 cats. Instead of a mouth he has 4 arses. His claws as big as cups. And he has some ears on the inside. And then his descriptions continue into the next scene. But this is while they're in bed. As ever, the bedroom is a den of entertainment and weirdness for them. He now has this chart of like a pull-down blind of things that don't exist. And following discussions, Ted has to insist that he adds 2 onto the list.
The Beast and the
Phantom of the Opera.
The Phantom of the Opera, yes. Did you see what else was on it?
Non-Catholic gods.
That was the big one, yeah. Darth Vader.
Yeah.
The Loch Ness Monster, and Frankenstein, and Magnum P.I.
See, the Frankenstein thing there makes me think that you could be onto something with your 1938 reference.
That's what that did sort of lock it into my head.
That's why you run the podcast, and I'm just a guest on it.
Well, it takes me about an hour to watch each episode. Like, I'm sitting there pausing every 5 seconds.
Yeah, I
wonder what that could be. Yeah. But non-Catholic gods, and not even non-Christian gods. So a Lutheran god doesn't exist. And, so Ted's pretty zero sum when it comes to his deities.
Well, I suppose you have to if you're a Catholic priest.
Yeah, you got to stick to the team.
Yeah, I mean it does throw open the sort of greater philosophical and religious question. What if you worship a Catholic god in a non-Catholic way? Because
so if you sacrifice lambs to it or something?
Yeah, I was watching The Simpsons yesterday, and it was an episode where the Simpson family goes to Israel, and I found it interesting because my parents are in Israel. In fact, they're not. They're coming back right now. But
They're in the sky.
But they've just been there for religious reasons, actually.
Oh, really? Right. Okay.
Yeah. So they went on a kind of a pilgrimage. A lot of these sites are really interesting because they're, what's it called? Dome of the Rock. Anyway, Abraham, who is the, I guess, father of the Judeo-Christian tradition, is also has a similar role in Islam, but he's known as Ibrahim. So, in theory, it's the same. If it was the same God, if it was the one God talking to him, who told him to sacrifice his son Isaac, which is what this holy stone in Jerusalem is about, not the Clonrickard.
Not the Clonrickard one, because we know what happened to that.
What is a non-Catholic God?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And then as for Magnum P.I.
Well, that's just cruel, I think.
Yeah.
You can let Dougal have that fantasy at least.
When did Magnum P.I. end?
I don't know much about the show. I'd say about 1990, would have said.
Yeah. Because it's an interesting reference. Like, I get it now, but mind you...
I wouldn't have recognised that at the time.
No, nor I, but I would have been at the younger end of the spectrum. But then we seem to be the ones that fathered... Maybe they were trying to reach out to an older generation of watching...
Yeah, that really latched onto it, or still latching onto it.
Yeah. I'm 31. 31.
31. I'm 31 in September. So, yeah.
Good luck.
With the weather news, they're both reading. This seems to be a yearly periodical.
Yep. They've obviously got some effort there with the newspapers. And I like the attention to detail. I couldn't read what was on the back of last year's weather news. It was something about the sun, about it being sunny, because it was warm winter ahead. On this year's one, it's cold winter ahead, and the weather news, and then there's a little sort of special article in the top right-hand corner saying "Big Freeze Special."
They do love their newspapers. I think they love their newspaper humour as well.
We should also point out at this stage, in reference to the title, that Chris has started burping through nervousness.
Oh yes. Yes.
So Chirpy, Burpy, cheap sheep, and Ted makes the point in the bedroom scene that no burping sheep has ever won it, and Dougal quite correctly pulls him up on it, a bit like Andy Murray pulling up John Inverdale, and said, "What about Big Brendan, 1983?" Is it 83?
That was a fluke.
It was a fluke, but still, you have to point these things out. Yeah.
I didn't actually write that down. So
anyone who didn't pick up on the Andy Murray thing, after he won the Olympic gold medal this year, 2016, just for those who discovered this in posterity, John Inverdale for the BBC said, "You're the first person to win 2 Olympic gold medals." And he went, "Well, I think Venus and Serena have won about 4 each."
Yeah. But yeah, you think you'd know that?
I think he misphrased it. I think he meant consecutively.
Right, okay.
Because I think Venus and Serena sort of alternated them.
And doubles as well.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as bad as everyone was making out. I think it's
no, I think it's just because it's John Inverdale and he's annoyed a few people. Steve Redgrave stormed off screen the other day with him.
I missed that, but I heard about what
happened. I don't know, I just read about it.
Dougal says when the beast yawns, it sounds like Liam Neeson.
That's all. Yeah, that's on the way to John and Mary's.
Yes.
Yeah. The previous glimpse we've had of Dougal is in Ted's bed after he turns the light back on after hearing a howl. But yeah.
And he's the big spoon.
He's the big spoon.
Yeah. But imagine what Liam Neeson chasing hens around a barrel would be. Under specific set of circumstances.
In fact, I don't know why, but I've been watching The Simpsons a lot at the world's biggest arts festival. And Liam Neeson was playing a priest. They're also very religious-heavy episodes. Liam Neeson was playing a priest in one episode. So I guess he does get everywhere.
Yeah. Well, this would have been before Taken and everything. In fact, this would have been very soon after Michael Collins.
Oh, yeah.
He wouldn't even be that big in America at that point, would he?
No. Well, I don't know.
He had done Schindler.
He'd done Schindler. But he hadn't done Star Wars.
Yes, right enough, actually, which would have catapulted him to
would have been later, yeah.
Superstardom, yeah.
But Father Ted I remember going to New York, January 1999. We did a bus tour of the city because my dad loves doing them.
Right,
and,
open top ones, yeah.
Yeah,
Nice.
And the guy doing it, although we were inside because it was January, it was freezing.
In New York.
Yeah. So we get anyway. The tour guide was obviously part-time stand-up comic, at one point he found out we were Irish and he went, "Oh my God, I love Ballycus Angel." We all do. And my dad, who was not a great Father Ted fan, he just said, "Oh, wait till you get Father Ted." And the guy goes, "Wait till we what? Wait till you get Father Ted." I don't know that. Anyone heard of Father Ted? And there were these two Australian people behind us who were big Father Ted fans. I don't know if they didn't sell it to America then, or if people just didn't view it.
They tried selling it. I think it might have gotten what would have been the precursor to BBC America.
Okay.
But America wasn't ready for it. It was like, they're disgracing the priests. They're disgracing the Catholic Church. This is an outrage. Apparently, they've been trying to get remakes of it ever since, and different locations. Like, they were trying to do it in Boston. It was Gremlin and said it just misses the point completely.
Yeah.
And then another one was in Wisconsin somewhere. Surely the most obvious place would be somewhere in Alaska or something.
I don't know. Yes, that's true. But I just don't know, why would you not?
Just watch the original.
Yeah, just take the original.
Yeah. But see, there's a lot of Irish jokes that even English people don't get in Father Ted.
Yeah, that's true.
So then if you add Irish and English jokes that Americans wouldn't get, you see, so...
Yeah, but one of the things is that non-Irish British people, most of them would know someone Irish.
Yeah,
or
true, yeah.
So if you don't get it's the Irish people having a laugh.
Yeah.
Then it's sort of, we've been there. Whereas in the States, a lot of the time, even the term Irish does not mean Irish. I saw a production of The Glass Menagerie the other night, and this guy's described as being Irish. He's American. He was born and raised in America.
Yeah.
He's never been to Ireland. I was at
3 generations ago, yeah.
I was at a concert in California in 2006. I just realised it's getting you with the travel.
Yeah.
But
drop any more fucking locations, can you? No, it's great.
No, I was at a Paul Simon gig, and there were these two guys next to my friend and me, and they were saying, "I'm really looking forward to this." Yeah, actually, we've come all the way from Ireland, and we're Irish. And he went, "Oh wow, no way, I'm Irish." I was like, "Okay, where in Ireland are you from?" And he was like, "Well, my grandmother was from Tipperary." And I was like, "Yeah, but so you're not actually Irish?" He went, "I'm Irish. That's what Irish is."
Yeah.
I was like, "No, Irish means you're actually from the place."
Yeah, but it's like, like Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish.
Oh God.
You can't even say Notre Dame properly.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Anyway,
I was going to say a quick story about my uncle.
American listeners, we love you.
Yeah, we got Richard in Washington State, and we got another guy in Atlanta who invited me over.
Another guy whose name you can't remember.
Darth Queeg is his Reddit username.
Oh, right, okay.
So,
nice,
yeah.
fair enough.
But yes, as you said, John and Mary, he gets her locked in the wardrobe, but they didn't get their story right this time.
No.
John said, "I think she's away." She goes, "No,
she's
no,
at her
no."
mother's.
Yes.
And she kicks off very briefly.
Yeah, so the threads are starting to appear.
Yeah.
The gossip's going to start. You can't have that, like.
Yeah, and they had. What's the episode where they arrive at the door? And
he's no friend of mine.
Yeah, that one. And you think, well, hang on now, lads, you're bickering all the way up to the house. Anyone could be looking out the window or see you over the wall.
Yeah. Well, do they maintain the pretense for the whole community, or
is it just for the
Ted?
priests?
Yeah.
Maybe it's just for the priests.
Yeah. See, I could never. I don't think you ever see them in front of anyone else, so
No.
it's hard to tell. See, I always assumed that the joke was for the whole island, but
You do see, before Ted and Dougal go into the shop, you see Fargo coming out of the shop with a yellow LP underneath his coat.
which you see much more clearly in the flashback later
Yes,
on in the episode.
yeah.
But yeah, so when he comes out, that's when they decide to push each other in. So maybe it is to keep the pretense for everyone.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I guess so. So yeah, they're letting the mask slip anyway.
Yeah, not good.
Well, at least the divorce referendum had come through by this point, so they're all right now. Like, but when Dougal gets a moment alone, when Ted and John are talking about the batting, he decides to start shoplifting Chupa Chups.
Yeah.
First dishonest thing that I think I've seen Dougal do.
No.
Apart from, kick the odd sports competitor down.
Yeah. Is that the first?
Well, that's the most
Dishonest
overtly dishonest thing, yeah.
Has he never lied to Ted before?
No, he never seems to need to. Ted's the one who's the compulsive liar.
Yeah, that's true.
And, the only other thing you could say was dishonest was like when Father Dougal hit the whistle for him. But even then, it was more just Father Dougal was just using him because he knew.
Christmas special.
Right, so skipped over that. So yeah, hit me with it.
So he comes down in the middle of the night to pretend that he's won the award, and Ted goes, he comes down in the middle of the night to watch the scary film, and then he screams. Ted comes running downstairs and he goes, Dougal, I told you not to watch that film. Dougal says, no, I wasn't watching it, Ted. I just came down to I carried the milk around.
Right, okay.
But no, in general, does Dougal have a moral compass, or is he just a sort of I'll have that?
And just decides to have himself. Well, when he thinks that Mary's looking at him, Mary says, "Oh, you're looking well." Then he starts saying, "Oh shit, I've been duped here."
Busted.
Yeah. And then Mary does gets final say in the argument anyway when she punches him through the.
Oh yeah, that was brilliant.
Yeah.
And that got a little round of applause when she punches John through the door of the wardrobe.
Yeah, the audience today was very hooter and hollery.
Yeah.
At the end of the episode, when they hold on the boxes, which we'll get to, they were woo woo woo, and I was watching because I knew there was another joke to come because there was like 2 minutes left or something. But it was odd. So they're obviously on Mary's side. When I do my tribute show, Father Ted tribute show, we have a competition where we're all singing, and Mrs Doyle does the tea will go on. I'll go on. So she wins competition, and everyone in the crowd, without fail, are all really happy. Like, "Way!" And it's like, well, what about your Dougal?
She gets a tough time.
Yeah, what she does was her little victories.
Yeah.
Her little victories. But Dougal tapes all his conversations, much like Richard Nixon used to do. But I was expecting that to come back in the episode as sort of, and here's proof.
Yeah.
And it didn't, so it was just a little, just for the use of a joke. I stand corrected. And did you think that Fargo looked like the Big Lebowski?
I suppose he did a bit actually. I mean, he's got a big fur coat that resembles your man's dressing gown.
Yeah. David Huddleston, the late great, who played Big Lebowski.
Yeah. He did a bit. It was an interesting place to set that scene. It's just up against a wall. I was more distracted in that moment. So he's wearing this fur coat.
Oh no, not Giant Reed, Fargo.
Oh, Fargo. When he comes out with his.
Well, just in general, his face, I think, actually resembles him. There's just sometimes the camera caught him. And it was like, geez, you could swear there were brothers, like. But anyway, back to.
I'd have to watch that again.
But because it caught me a few times. I was kept trying to dismiss it to myself. And I was like, no, that's from another angle. It still looks like him. But
it's a while since I've seen the Lebowski. Although there's a big poster of him outside my venue because they do White Russians in the bar. So,
okay, right. So, there's a.
So I'll have a look on my way into work tonight.
Do. What was you were going to say about Giant Reed in front of the wall?
So he's wearing this fur coat.
Yeah.
Which is fairly conspicuous, and that's why I thought you were talking about him, because it looks like, because the Big Lebowski goes around in his robe all the time as well.
Yeah.
And he's sort of struggling on a bicycle, comically.
Yeah.
In the background, though, there are loads of old-fashioned ploughs and tilling materials to be horse-drawn, but they're all pink and kind of spindly.
Right.
It was just a lot.
It was jarring, just wasn't it?
It just pink, old-fashioned pink farmyard machinery, and I just think, and I hope they went, my God, that's weird. Let's just put that in the back of the shop. It looked like a flamingo graveyard or something.
Yeah, I didn't actually notice the background. I was actually paying attention. Because as I say at the end of the episode, the flashbacks are much more overt.
And there's a price tag of £1,000.
So I was looking to see if that was in this shot. But then it's like, where is he cycling from? Because as you say, he's literally just in front of a 3-foot wall. So he's got on his bike even though he can't actually get up on it.
Yeah, he can't cycle.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get out of there as quickly as possible. And then he does this little hiding his face with his hand
after waving
type thing. After waving to them.
So it's like, they acknowledge you're there, they know it's you, and now you're going to try and hide your face.
And it's very odd. And someone else does it later on in the episode. So.
Yeah, the conspiracy theory, or the conspiracies in Craig Island
Yeah, and I just wonder if they lifted it from a favourite film or episode or something that they're trying to send up or homage to.
Possibly. I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
But Mrs Doyle. So basically, Ted and Dougal take Chris in to see if they can nurse him back to health. And Mrs Doyle suggests that she make him some tea.
Yes.
Ted says,
the little sheep fellow.
Yeah. Ted says, well, I'm sure they don't have unless you have some special sheep tea. Oh, yeah, I do. Just in the t-shirt in the kitchen there.
One of my favourite things about different episode again, the Pat Mustard episode, is you get to see into the kitchen.
Yes, for the very first time. Although you have seen Ted and Dougal struggle.
Well, yeah, just struggling to make a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it becomes much more prominent in Pat Mustard, which is the next episode actually. So
stay tuned.
Stay tuned. With Victoria E. Armstrong, also from Belfast Comedy Writers. So
excellent.
Listen out for that. But Mrs. Doyle so chuffed with herself when Ted suggested she could make some sheep tea.
How long's that sheep tea been sitting in the cupboard?
Yeah, just waiting for
waiting for a willing mouth. And what does she serve it in? I'd like to have just seen her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a trough or something, or
maybe she probably has a special tea trough and saucer.
And she wouldn't have served it boiling, I'm sure.
I don't know. Maybe it's a special sheep tea because it can infuse when the water isn't boiling. Maybe.
Well, we'll have to look into that. Science.
We'll never know.
And then we had an M People montage, which really did it the episode. I haven't heard the M People in fucking years.
That was great.
Search for the hero inside yourself.
Heather Small.
Heather Small, yeah. Massive
What I
hair.
really liked about the montage actually was that Ted and Dougal maintained sort of neutral expressions throughout, poker faces. So by the end, the joke that Ted plays on Fargo when he comes around to pick him up, I'm sorry, he was playing it on the audience as well.
Yeah, yes, he didn't actually know which way it would drop. But some of the things they did put him in, floating on a rowboat, just tranquilly across the waterline, listening to ambient sounds was another record in the collection. And then floating in an isolation chamber. Completely submerged, by the way. I don't know if that's how isolation chambers are supposed to work. You're not supposed to be able to keep your head above water.
I suppose if you're a sheep, that's difficult to do them. Because your head's at the same level as your arse.
Is it not slightly higher, no?
I don't know, I've never been one.
But they managed to find a breathing apparatus for it. Then Ted starts to notice things aren't quite adding up.
Things are a bit weird.
Yeah, he starts noticing things are a bit off.
Well, the mistake actually is Fargo's in a way, because Fargo says, "Can I take you for a drink?" It's when he goes for a drink that he sees Hod Hastings has a crown and two female companions.
Yeah.
One of whom is dressed in sort of tiger print, is drinking a fancy-looking orange cocktail. And another one who isn't. She's just drinking a Coke. Or Pepsi, or Cola.
Which one do you reckon is getting lucky that night, do you think? Or is he that rich? He can get both?
Oh, I don't know. I think that's just having their company is probably quite lucky.
Yeah, true. As you say, they're not very conspicuous with their newfound wealth. Like, if they were in Goodfellas, Robert De Niro would already have them whacked, like.
That's true, yeah.
He was very.
He was very opposed to that. That pub that they were in, I think I visited last month.
Really? Where is it?
It's in Clare. I've got two aunts. Sorry, now we've just been distracted by
a crazy man.
A fat man trying to kill a wasp with a lunchbox or something. Anyway.
The Fringe, eh?
The Fringe.
Better give us some cash.
Dinner and a show. Yeah. A lot of the locations were around West Clare, where two of my aunts have a house.
Right.
So I just went on holiday there. And this pub is in a town, it's in Ennistimon.
Ah, right, yes. Yeah.
And there's a fair bit of Father Ted paraphernalia around it. And the public's very different now because they used to drink in there a fair bit. And the proprietor of the place, when they used it a couple of times as a location, they said, "I will give you some money." And he was like, "No, sure, don't worry about that." But they shipped him over loads of stuff from London, stuff like old-fashioned signs and ads for whiskey or cigarettes or tobacco.
Yes, yeah.
So the place is just full of them, as well as various little bits of Father Ted paintings and paraphernalia.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I was going to bring up the fact that it was a pub where the beer taps are something you could actually see over.
Yeah.
And that's, they're actually down at bar level, not, above a head level. That really annoys me. That was one of my pet peeves, is that you go to a pub, or I used to work in a lot of pubs, and I couldn't actually speak to the customers without doing some sort of dance around the beer tap site, because you're trying to see around to see what they're saying. They're they're competing to see who the highest tap is.
Yeah.
And then they started competing to see who had the tallest glass. So now bar glasses don't fit in bar shelves anymore, because they're all friggin', about 9 inches tall, like.
It's just, it's with O'Leary in the grave, James. You know what I mean?
Yes, the romantic garden. It's dead and gone. All's changed utterly. So Ted and Dougal try to chase down the beast when they hear the sounds.
Well, also because Dougal's let Chris escape.
Oh yes, of course.
And
yes.
he's taken to doing this thing of recording conversations because he thinks that Ted misleads him.
Well, we have mentioned that Ted has a bad influence on him, so maybe that's reasonable precaution Dougal's taken.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. Anyway, it turns out that Dougal's wrong, as usual.
As always, yeah. But so they go out and the sound seems to be all around them, and they realise it's actually a hi-fi stuck in a tree.
Yeah, while Ted has his face pressed to the ground. I think this is one of those really nice moments where Ted fails at trying to be clever. Dougal just doesn't try to be clever.
Yes, yeah.
And I remember when I think I read an interview with Arthur Matthews and Graham Linehan, or maybe they said it in the script book. I need to say hi to my friend Lucy, who I became best friends with after we won a Father Ted quiz in our first week at university, and it's her birthday.
Oh, fantastic. Happy birthday, Lucy.
Happy birthday, Lucy.
17th of August.
That they said that it's about a number of stupid priests living together on an island. And I hadn't hitherto sort of bought into the idea, because Dougal's so stupid, I hadn't looked at Ted and gone, you're stupid.
Yeah.
And because when I first watched it, it was one of the... I didn't have an idea of this is how a sitcom is and here's how Father Ted's different. It's just Father Ted is a sitcom.
It's funny, yeah.
When I watch it, having seen so many other shows and having lived a life, James, having been to the school of
hard knocks,
medium soft knocks, you kind of go, God, Ted actually is an idiot as well, and more so because he actually has the intelligence to not have to be such an idiot.
Yeah.
So he, and he's trying to do this thing, sue Indians by gauging the position of the moon, putting their ear to the ground.
Which is clearly bullshit, because they wouldn't have got the position of the moon from putting their ear to the ground.
It's absolutely pointless.
Yeah. Like, surely all I have to do is look and see where the light source is coming from. Even on a cloudy day, you can see vaguely where the moon is.
Yeah.
But he comes up, I think he was auditioning for Two-Face when he came up. It was perfectly half.
It was a perfect line, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Also right down his collar as well.
Yeah.
It's half white, half mud.
But yeah.
But he has that great line, I think I'm beginning to figure out what's going on.
So yeah, well, he has his moments in the sun. He does like playing the Chandler-esque,
Yeah.
picking things up. And I don't mean Chandler-esque from Friends. Could I be any more of a mystery?
But two other things, just before we move on to the next one.
Yeah.
One I've mentioned but didn't sort of make the link. In the pub scene where Fargo's quite drunk and he's saying, he cost me 20 quid, but there's a clause where I have to pay more if his image is ever used on stamps. I just found it interesting that was the second reference to stamps after the Beast has a tremendous fear of stamps.
Yeah, I didn't even pick that up the first time until you mentioned it earlier.
But now, does this mean that if, and I'm literally just thinking about this now, if Chris's face was used on stamps, then it would cost more because the Beast would be afraid of Chris because he'd been on stamps then. I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe they just had stamps on the brain when they were writing this episode.
He would have got away with it too if he weren't for those pesky priests.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But another thing, in terms of the outside search and the howling that's going on, there's a lot of, I guess, smoke or haze, if you like, making it very spooky. And also there's a weird camera angle. The camera's at it's kind of tilted to its side. So you've got the line of the the stone wall in the field where they're walking is not parallel with the bottom and top of the screen, if you like.
Right,
And,
yes, yeah.
and they're off to one side, which, you know, throws in that spooky feel. And it's actually some quite clever but also comedy camera work.
Well, like,
and then when you see the stereo up in the tree, it just straightens up, and as the mystery is solved.
yes. So, everything's coming back to normal. No, well, as I said, like, they do love their horror tropes, and we were describing in an earlier episode. Do you remember when Len's Rabbits, when Jack leaves his room and goes into Len's room?
Oh yes, yeah.
And there's a CCTV footage. It's like, I was speaking to Graham Harrison, who was a horror fan, and he said he could not think where they came up with that. So they love their horror things so much that we think they actually invented one.
Oh.
Because that obviously then became found footage and, you know, CCTV and everything.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, that was probably something from the Evil Dead or something. The crooked camera that sort of writes itself or something.
Yes.
I haven't seen Evil Dead, so I can't comment. But
so then Ted starts to think he's figured out what's going on, and we cut to the denouement.
You go back to the king of the sheep.
Sheep of the year, and with the menu.
Yes, everything on the menu is rack of lamb. So
Yeah.
the king of the sheep, he gets a life of luxury as the prince of sheep. The prince of sheep, if you want.
Yes.
It ends up on the dinner plate.
I guess so. There's a guy with a fantastic accent, Alan the Judge.
Yes.
He's got a lovely uvula.
Sorry, I didn't catch your name there. Alan. Yeah.
Don't be too hard on them, Alan.
But yeah, when he goes, I'll get straight to the point, and then just babbles on for another 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Like when your wedding bets, was there something like that happen?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. Like how long is each person going to speak for? How long are the speeches going to last? Everyone throws in a quid.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Something I also noticed in this scene for the first time is that on one of the cutaways, so like Alan's talking, he's going on and on and on, and then it cuts to the three guys, the three sheep farmers, Fargo, Giant, and Hud. But in front of them, there's a guy sat down at a table, and he just has the most massive cigar. It's huge.
Yeah.
It's just so big.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, he's just puffing on this. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's King of the Sheep. Like, it's no.
Oh yeah. It's
This is the social event of the year, like
probably is.
on the island.
The lovely girls.
Yeah. Well, then Ted drops his bombshell, and the crowd is aghast, including our meet the maker, Graham Linehan.
Yep.
Fucking hell.
Fucking hell. Not the first time I heard it. The first time I heard it, I thought he was shouting "fucking hell," which he was.
He was, yeah.
But then for a while later, because someone had told me, I thought it was the old canal trick, which is where you can say the word canal. It works better in an English accent. At the end of a sort of hubbub. And if you say canal, it sounds like the end of you saying fucking hell.
Yes, right, I
So,
get, yeah.
Canal. Sort of thing.
Canal.
The best example or riff on it is in Only Fools and Horses, actually, where, in my opinion, where Rodney and Delboy go to France, and Delboy is complaining that he's never fully had a grasp on the French language, and he'd love to know what they call doc à l'orange. And Rodney goes, it's canard. And Delboy goes, yeah, it's difficult, Rodney, yeah.
Very good.
Graham Linehan does in fact shout
Fucking
hell.
Well, that absolutely cracked me up the first time I saw that as a 11 or 12-year-old.
Yeah.
Like, that had me doubled up for a good 5 minutes, and then I actually missed what was happening to the next joke.
I thought one thing that was really good though was, for a lot of people, and particularly in those days, there would have been a thing of, well, surely that didn't actually happen. I just imagined it.
Yeah.
So then the fact they do it again,
2 minutes later,
it is very, very smart.
Well, yeah, because like, there was no swearing on TV. Well, not sitcoms anyway. You would have got it in like maybe the hard-edged dramas and stuff.
Yeah.
Until South Park came along, which still hadn't debuted at this point. So there was no swearing. So when somebody in Father Ted says it twice in 2 minutes, like.
Yeah. But I don't know, was it scripted or? Mind you, Channel 4 was always that bit edgier.
Yeah.
I think in series 1 of Blackadder, you used to get a swearing quota
Oh,
for
really?
your
Right.
series, yeah, for the BBC. And I think they used it all up in one fuck.
Well,
I
there's one
could be
folk
wrong.
equivalent to like 3 bastards or something, or
Yeah, it was something like that. But yeah, it's exactly that
Right,
kind of
yeah.
thing.
Well, I did want to bring up, like I said, it was the Meet the Maker, which is our running thing. So it's now 6-4, where Graham is now catching up to what's he in there? Arthur.
Yeah.
So he's going through a list as in surge. He might actually catch him up, because it was at 6-1 at one point.
6-1 to Arthur.
To Arthur, and he hasn't showed up since.
Wow.
So
gosh, I'm surprised at that. I would have thought they'd be like level pegging him.
well, Arthur went flying into lead in the first series,
In the
like
first series.
5-0 or something, and then
So 5 episodes.
well, maybe not 5, but like he definitely went miles ahead. It
Yeah,
looked like
gosh.
he's going to be untouchable. But 6-4, so he might actually catch him. I can't actually think of when I've seen them again since.
What's to come?
Well, there's the football episodes, kicking
Football episodes.
Bishop Brennan.
Yeah.
There's Pat Mustard. There's Owen McLove, which I haven't seen in absolute years, so they may have showed up in that and I've just forgotten. And then there's the mainland, which I didn't like at the time, so I haven't watched so much since.
Oh really?
Yeah.
My friend Connor's in that.
What's his name, Connor?
Connor Lovett.
And who does he play?
He plays. I can't remember his name, but he's the bald man at Alcoholics Anonymous.
Ah, yes, who tries to coax
Yeah,
Jack
yeah.
back. Right.
Uh,
Well, we'll mention that in the episode then. No, the reason I didn't like it is because I really hated One Foot in the Grave, and to have such a crossover element so prevalent in an episode.
Richard Wilson has just pulled out of the festival actually.
The Edinburgh Festival?
Yeah, he was going to come and do a show, but he had a heart attack.
Oh, really? Oh, gosh, well.
Yeah. So now, look what you've done.
Now I feel guilty. Okay, I love it, I love it. But, yeah, so they go through what was happening with the conspiracy through flashbacks, and as we said, they were a bit more overt in the flashbacks. So when Fargo emerges from John and Mary's, you can clearly read BBC Sound Effects
Yes.
Volume 5, and you can see the price tag, and you can also see the bribes they're giving when they're from the very start, with a lovely old Fiha punt.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
With Daniel O'Connell's face.
Yeah, the £20 note before the euro.
There's no price tag on the crown.
So that was just the
on
fact of the
Hot
grind.
Haste.
Yeah.
But what is in frame is Ted's back and Ted being there, and like all the other ones are just individually. So you've got Fargo, and it's sort of from Ted's point of view.
Yeah.
And then you've got Giant in his coat with the price tag, again from Ted's point of view, and then the third one, Ted's in shot while he's saying, and a crown.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching that again this morning actually, thinking, is that just testament to the fact that we often choose to remember things a certain way, and it's very different to the actual reality?
Yes, yeah, true, actually, yeah. Well, Chris Nolan made his breakthrough film out of just that idea.
Yeah.
Memento.
So, all the flashbacks, and yeah, it was very Agatha Christie.
Yes, yeah.
I'm surprised there wasn't...
Murder, She Wrote sort of idea.
I guess they were going for more of a horror, or maybe even...
Strange on a Train sort of thing, or...
And I guess I've always kind of thought that they could have been a bit more low-key and gone for like a Columbo or a Poirot, sort of cool, calm and collected reveal, but you didn't account for it's just Ted being manic, which I suppose is a bit more true to character.
Yes, yeah. Well, he loves the fact he's able to prove everyone wrong, I think, as well.
The vanity of your accomplices.
Yes, exactly, yeah. Yeah, it's big sermonizing, so this is the sort of time we see it, sermonizing, so imagine when he's like on the pulpit, like, when he actually does bother to not phone it in. But yeah, so after, when he wraps everything up, he goes, I'm going to have to leave now, there's a bit of a stench in here, there's real sort of down your nose fucking...
yeah, which is literally true as well, because it's full of sheep.
Well, this is true, yeah.
Imagine trying to have a really, really nice lunch in a sheep barn. I mean, sheep are smelly animals.
I don't know them up close, but I do love old sheep. Like, they're so cuddly and so docile. And
have you ever hugged a sheep?
Lambs. We had a lamb.
Lambs are different though. I'd say a sheep would give you a nasty nip if you tried to give it too much of a squeeze.
Well, and my granny had a goat for a while. They love nipping you, yeah.
Yeah. They'll eat anything.
Yeah. Well, I can't remember what the plant was, but like there were these sort of Irish versions of bamboo shoots at the back as well. They just grew up in about a week, and they grew up to about 12, 14 feet or something.
Set the goat on them.
The goat just we just tied it near the nose and just plowed through them.
That's why pandas are dying.
Because the goats have been eating all their bamboo.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they have a lovely walk into the sunset.
Beautiful sunset.
Beautiful sunset, yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Which reminded me of Only Fools and Horses, the final scene.
Oh,
the final proper scene.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was intentional, because Only Fools would have finished just before that, in 96.
Yeah, maybe.
Or if it was just, the old cliche of walking into sunshine or the sunset that Only Fools was taking the piss out of. But it just put me in mind of that. But Dougal reminds him, if Chris has been disqualified, that means you've lost the bet.
Yeah. Ted just has this brilliant quiet tantrum.
Yeah, this
jumping up and down with his head in his hands.
Poor old Ted, like he thought he had his little victory, but snapped away from.
But that's another example of Ted also trying to be too clever.
Yeah.
Just being really stupid, while Dougal's just keeping it simple and being simple.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes just simplicity is the best medicine. So what ends up happening then is they have to go into hibernation during the winter months, because it's going to be, as the weather news had warned them, it's going to be a very cold winter. So they go into their large boxes, but yeah.
Yeah, in they go with their sleeping bags, hot water bottles. Mrs Doyle's done meet your little lunchbox and a thermos.
Yeah. It's going to see them through the winter anyway.
Yeah. All of this goes under the credits. So I've just got my notes here, and it was actually Priscilla who played Chris. So apologies, Priscilla.
Yeah.
She's probably dead now.
Queen of the Desert as well. I wonder, was there any element of Dolly the sheep, which was big in the news around this time, having influence on them for the?
I couldn't express an opinion. Although, of course, the Catholic Church is very opposed to cloning and
yes.
all that gene stuff. So
but they don't like people playing God, so they don't like Morgan Freeman or
Magnum P.I.
Yeah.
Darth Vader.
Darth Vader. Yeah.
Maybe they're all supposed to be lesser gods, and that's why they're all on that list.
Because they shall not have strange gods before me, as you well know.
Yes.
From 1 to 10. I think that's the first one, actually.
Yeah.
That's the most important one. Like 3 ahead of Thou Shalt Not Kill.
Yeah. Yes, that's the first one.
Yeah.
So the first 3 deal with God, don't
The 4th deal with try to be a better human being.
Yeah. Well, I think 4 through to 10 are between you and your neighbour.
Yeah. You shall not covet the neighbour's wife.
Yes, or goods.
Or goods.
Or bear false witness against the same neighbour. Or indeed any other.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Or steal, just in general.
They're pretty odd set of commandments, as a lot of people have pointed out, greater thinkers than myself. But so just your thoughts overall.
Overall, I'd say a fairly middling episode.
Middling, right? Okay.
Good, funny, the jokes are there. Quite interesting, different, because I think it took us very much out of the, not that there's a norm, because every episode's unique, it's different, but it wasn't something that we didn't meet any other priests.
Yes.
So it was more about life on Craggy Island than about the situation and how Ted being a priest has a bearing on it, or them knowing other priests has a bearing on it. Like, one of the favourite things, I'm sure you've spoken about this on the podcast in the past, in fact, is just they take a word, not even necessarily an adjective, it could be a noun like monkey, and you put that in front of the word priest, and then you've got a character.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And if you take something else that's about Craggy Island and about the people on Craggy Island, you could take the old grey whistle theft, but still in that you've got Father Damo,
yes,
so you've got the cool priest. And then, of course, you've got all the various ones where he's in competition with Larry Duff, and you've got kicking Bishop Brennan up the arse coming up, I know, and also the football match one. So, that's the way in which this one, I think, is quite rare.
In that, it's about the island, and funny you mention that, and you're right, actually. It's the first time you see Ted actually performing the functions of a priest, because Fargo Boyle, his first call is to Ted.
Yes.
And Ted's straight away down to his house. It's Ted's actual position as a priest on the island.
He's doing some pastoral work for the first time.
Exactly. So I mean, I actually thought it was a very strong episode, but I don't think I can put it in the top 5 contenders for the only reason is that I've already got far too many.
Yeah.
And
that's when I say middling. I think it's a fantastic show. They're all up there, but So it's in my extremely broad middle bracket.
Yeah, well,
where they're all just on an extremely high power level.
Well, I mean, since I was chatting today, I was actually thinking maybe I should put it in the top 5 contenders, but I really can't because I've already got. Let me think.
What are your top 5 at the moment?
Well, I've got the contenders are episode 3, which is the down with that sort of thing. Episode 4, can't remember off the top of my head. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So the first half of season 2.
Yeah.
Almost entirely. And then number 17, which was the last episode. Are you right there, Father Ted, for the racism episode?
Okay.
And I know there's 2 to come, or at least 2 to come. With
you got the mainland as well.
The mainland, I don't think that'll be a top 5. That'll have to really turn me around to be a top 5 contender. But Pat Mustard.
Pat Mustard, yeah, strong contender.
Kicking Bishop Brennan up the arse, and then possibly also Owen a glove. So I'm gonna for a top 5 contender, I'm gonna have about half the series. So I have to be ruthless, and that's the only reason this one doesn't get in the top 5. Well, not in the contenders anyway. Yeah, no, it's very good. And there was plenty of jokes. There was plenty of depth to the episode. As you said, it introduced new characters without introducing new priests. So they did sort of spread their wings a wee bit. And again, if this was an episode of any other sitcom, it would be one of the best of that sitcom. But it's a middling Father Ted episode, which again shows...
It's no bad thing.
Exactly. Well, thank you very much for meeting me. And
my pleasure, James.
Yes, yeah. And I'm going to have a great time now in Edinburgh. I'm going to have a pint with yourself, and then I'm going to see some shows. You can find us on Ecumenical Matter, Facebook.com/Ecumenical Matters. On the Father Ted subreddit, there will be a conversation thread which you can contribute to and add your own comments to. You can find me at James I McAnespy on Twitter.
I'm at _Keane on Twitter, and yes, that's where you can find me.
And look out for Battle Axe. That's your improv group,
my improv group, yeah.
In London. So you do regular shows in London as well, don't you?
Yeah, as well as various other comedy festivals.
Fantastic. And the London Comedy Writers, I didn't give them a good enough plug in episode 9 when I had 2 members, Jordan and Ollie. I don't think you mentioned the fact they were both from London Comedy Writers.
Both absolutely brilliant comedy writers.
They are actually,
in their own right.
So look out for London Comedy Writers. They've got a YouTube channel and some of their material, including some of yours as well. Is there up there?
No, none of mine is up there at the moment, but who knows what will come.
Well, exactly. Well, thank you very much for listening, and bless you.